Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to do something that I've been meaning to do for a while now, and that is I'm going to be solving some practice questions, some sample questions for the AWS Solutions Architect Associate exam. As you can see, I have achieved 5 certifications over the last year or so, and one of them is the AWS Solutions Architect Associate exam. When we go through the questions together, you can kind of see how I solve the questions and how I pick my answers. And also I'll try to explain as much as I can on why I pick what I choose. So let's get started. All right, the first website that I want us to look at is this right here, aws.amazon.com/certification/certified solutions architect associate. Now there is a new exam that was released by AWS on February 2018, and the old exam is going to be expired on August 12th. Today is August 10th, so I will not be talking about the old exam. I'll be focusing on the new exam. So on the left side, right now, there is the new exam. So in a couple of days, the new exam is the only option that will remain in this page. But if you scroll down a bit, under Key Prep Resources, there is sample questions that was released on February 2018. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm taken to a PDF page with about 10 questions. Now, why don't we get started actually solving some of these questions? So let's look at question number 1. A company is storing an access key ID, and secret access key in a text file on a custom AMI. The company uses the access key to access DynamoDB tables from instances created from the AMI. The security team has mandated a more secure solution. Which solution will meet the security team's mandate? So what's happening in question number 1 is you are storing an access key in a text file on a custom AMI. The company uses the access key to access DynamoDB tables from instances created from the AMI. So the security team has mandated a more secure solution. Which solution will meet the security team's mandate? Now, this access key ID and secret access key, when it's talking about that, it's talking about this, right? When you generate a secret access key and access key ID, you get these two credentials. Now, I'm not showing you this because, this is not something to be shared. So once you generate the pair of access key ID and secret access key, you can use that to work with AWS resources if you have enough permissions, right? But usually until you delete these keys, they will be there forever. That's why you don't want to be using these if you want to be secure. So instead, what you can do for our situation right here, if you're working with DynamoDB tables and if you want access to DynamoDB tables, what you can do is you can attach a role, right? But then let's look at the options. Put the access key in an S3 bucket and retrieve the access key on boot from the instance. I don't like this option because this can be done. This is not, incorrect, but this is not secure. It is still not secure because you're storing the access key itself, which is permanent until you delete it. The second option, option B, says pass the access key to the instances through instance user data. Now that is very insecure because if someone gets access to that EC2 instance, then they will be able to just look at the user data and they can see your access key and secret access key. So this is not the secure solution that you want. The third one is obtain the access key from a key server launched in a private subnet. Yeah, this just seems to be complicating things too much, right? I mean, you have a whole another key server just to, comply with the requirement. And by the way, the question is asking which solution will meet the security team's mandate, right? We want to meet the mandate, and option D says create an IAM role with permissions to access the table and launch all instances with the new role. So this looks like the best option to me. If I go to my IAM dashboard, right, and if I go to roles, I can create a role, and then I can create a role for an EC2 instance, and here I attach permissions to DynamoDB. So let's say we choose the DynamoDB full access, and I attach this permission to the role, review, Dynamo or something. You add the role, you create a role, and the Dynamo role has been created. Now all I need to do is I need to go to my EC2 dashboard, and well, right now I don't have any EC2 instance. So let's say I quickly launch an instance. I'm gonna quickly launch an instance. To connect to your DynamoDB securely, what you can do is you can go to actions, you can go to instance settings and attach, replace an IAM role. Now this is where you select the Dynamo role and apply. Close. Okay. So what happens when you use a role is that you do get that access key and secret access key. The role has access key ID and secret access key, but the role also has something called a token. And these sets of credentials change every 30 minutes or so in a role, right? So the access key ID and secret access key that come with the role rotate every few hours or every 30 minutes. And they are temporary credentials. So even if someone gets access to that somehow, you don't have to worry about them having a permanent access to your resources, because role is temporary, and if someone hacks into your account, they might only get access for maybe 30 minutes or a few hours at maximum. So that's why option D will meet the security team's mandate, and this is also a very secure way to do things on AWS. So be ready to use roles in this kind of scenario. Let's move on to number 2. A company is developing a highly available web application using stateless web servers. Which services are suitable for storing session state data? It tells me to select 2. And the keyword for this question is storing session state data. I want to store something, right? So by looking at the options, I can maybe quickly select the right 2. So let's look at option A, CloudWatch. CloudWatch is used to log things, right? CloudWatch is used to monitor things on your resources or log your application logs, or there is also things like alarms and CloudWatch events. It's really not used to store state data, right? It's used to store logs, but not state data. Option B is DynamoDB. DynamoDB is a NoSQL database. So, that seems like a good fit. So I'm going to stick with option B. I need one more. Option C says elastic load balancing, right? So no, elastic load balancing is not used to store stuff. So I want to pass on that one. And number D, option D says ElastiCache, right? ElastiCache is also a data store. You can store key value pairs and your information about your web applications or your gaming leaderboards and you can basically store data in there. And it's best for online applications, that needs like to store session state data. So it's actually one of the best use cases to store session data using ElastiCache. So D looks good. And if you look at option E, storage gateway is used for hybrid cloud solutions. So if you have some data that you need to access from your on-prem, you use storage gateway to kind of have some cloud access and store your backup into S3 or something like that, but it's not used for storing session state data. So in this case, number 2, the answer is going to be D and B, right? D and B. Let's move on to number 3. Company salespeople upload their sales figures daily. A solutions architect needs a durable storage solution for these documents that also protects against user accidentally deleting important documents. Which action will protect against unintended user actions? Okay, this is a good one. The company does not want to lose important data when someone accidentally deletes an important document. What can you do to protect against this accidental deletion, right? Okay, so let's look at the answer choices for question number 3. Option A says store data in an EBS volume and create snapshots once a week. Now that is not a good choice because you're only creating snapshots once a week. What happens if if someone deletes your data at middle of the week when you have 3 days worth of data that's not in a snapshot? So that's not the right answer. Option B says store data in an S3 bucket and enable versioning. So that looks like the right answer because we'll look at this right after we discuss all the options. But with versioning, what happens is if you delete an object, it won't be actually deleted and a delete marker will be placed on top. So that looks like the right answer. Option C says store data in 2 S3 buckets in different AWS regions. Now this one is also one of the solutions, right? If someone deletes a data in S3 bucket here, then the data will be still available in the other bucket. And option D says store data on an EC2 instance storage. Now this one is definitely wrong because instance storage is ephemeral, and if your EC2 is down for any reason, then you lose your data, every single piece of data. So regarding option C, if I scroll down in the sample questions, there's also answers, right? So according to the answers, what it says is that B is the right answer, first of all, right? Because if a versioned object is deleted, they can still be recovered by retrieving the final version or removing the delete marker. Now, regarding the storing the data in 2 S3 buckets, right? This is also a good solution, but a user could delete the object from both buckets. So look at a scenario where I think that I don't need a file named apple.txt, right? It's on both of my S3 buckets, and if I think both of them are not required anymore, I go on each bucket and I delete them. And if the bucket is not versioned, then I lose data in both of them. So that's why the best option would be to enable versioning on your bucket, right? So I'm gonna create a bucket. I'll call it YouTube exam sample, and then I'll just create this bucket with all the default options, and then I'll go into that bucket, YouTube exam sample, and I will upload something, and I'll just upload a file and upload. So I have this file on my S3 bucket. If this is a normal bucket, if I select this and if I delete, right, it's gone forever, right? There's no way for me to retrieve that because it is actually deleted. With a versioned bucket, how you enable versioning is you go to Properties tab and you click on the versioning box. Click here and say Enable Versioning and save. Once you do that, you can go back to Overview, upload any files. I'm going to upload the same file and upload. But this time you see this tab show up that says versions and hide and show. So let's say that an employee comes to my S3 bucket, he deletes this file. Oops. He deletes this file, right? Delete. It is gone from the normal view, but if I click on show, I still have a few things in here. The one thing I see on the top is a delete marker. If I delete this delete marker, right, and if I click on hide now, the actual original file is restored. So with versioning, even if you delete your objects, it is not actually deleted and a delete marker is placed, so your data is still there. So answer choice B is the right answer, is the correct answer in this case. Question number 4. An application requires a highly available relational database with an initial storage capacity of 8 terabytes, right? The database will grow 8 gigabytes every day. To support expected traffic, at least 8 read replicas will be required to handle database reads. Which option will meet these requirements? Now, just by looking at the question, I can, kind of gather that this is a relational database. I need a relational database service and with read replicas. So there's nothing like read replicas in DynamoDB. So option A is not the right answer. Option B is also not the right answer because S3 is not a relational database. Now, it comes down to option C and option D. Option C, Amazon Aurora, is a relational database service. So it is like a MySQL database, but it's Amazon's own version of MySQL database. So it is a relational database, and you can store about 64 terabytes in each node, and then you can create multiple read replicas. So answer C seems like the best answer, and option D is not the right answer because Amazon Redshift is a data warehouse solution and it's not a relational database. So it's a data warehouse. Redshift is used for big data. In this case, Amazon Aurora is the right answer. And quickly go to the AWS console. Under services, type in RDS, which is the relational database service. Click here, and I will be taken to, the relational database service. I say get started now, and the options that I get to choose is, one of them is Amazon Aurora, right? So this is just like using MySQL, but it's a little bit different kind of database with a bit more features, and it's Amazon's own database, so it is the right answer in our case. Now, question number 5. A solutions architect is designing a critical business application with a relational database that runs on an EC2 instance. It requires a single EBS volume that can support up to 16,000 IOPS, input and output per second, right? So IOPS means input, output per second. Which Amazon EBS volumes type can meet the performance requirements of this application? Option A says EBS provisioned IOPS, SSD. Option B says EBS throughput optimize HDD, which is hard, like magnetic hard disk. Option C says EBS general purpose SSD, and D says EBS cold HDD. Let's go to the EC2 dashboard first, and under the EC2 dashboard, you can scroll to the volume section. And in here, if I create a volume, now this is, the options that we get, right? General purpose SSD, solid state drive. If I select this, then the IOPS is I'm limited to 300 burstable up to 3000 IOPS. If I select the provisioned IOPS, oh, look at this. The maximum is 32,000 input and output per second. So this will fulfill my requirement. And let's check out the other ones. So for the cold HDD type, the IOPS is not given, but you do get a throughput guarantee, right? You do get a throughput guarantee. So on the other hand, for provision IOPS, you don't get a throughput guarantee, but you do get the IOPS guarantee. So, you can see that for all the other options compared to these two options, the SSD options, I don't get a IOPS number. So from what we have seen, the provisioned IOPS, just like the name says, provisioned IOPS will give you up to 32,000 input and output per second operations. The answer in our case is EBS provisioned IOPS SSD, right? And you can check the answer for question number 1 to 5 in here. So EBS provisioned IOPS, just like we said, Amazon Aurora for the relational database requirement. You enable versioning to stop unintended user actions like deletion. To store state data, you use DynamoDB and ElastiCache, and you use identity and access management roles instead of using access key ID and secret access key. So we will cover question number 6 to 10 in the next video. Thank you for watching and staying with me in this video. See you in the next one.